Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Hello, Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. We got such great feedback from all of you from our last podcast episode on why leaders get stuck when it comes to permanent weight loss. They're not able to lose weight and keep it off. They're not able to stay consistent. Oftentimes they have more challenges. They binge eat, they sneak eat, and they invest many times a lot of time, a lot of money, also your health, with a lot of my clients in the past doing different gastric bypass or lap band surgeries into trying to figure this thing out. And we got a lot of feedback that this is a topic that is valuable and helpful to you. So I'm here to talk part 2 today and elaborate even more. Just in my self-development journey, I have gotten tons of feedback that who I would be able to benefit the most are leaders. And in my experience, who I love to help the most are leaders. And I'm just happy to speak to you today and to continue to offer value. So there was a couple points from the last episode that I feel like I didn't get to drive home as much as I would have really have liked to. And so I want to make sure I cover some of that for you today. Where I'd like to start, though, is just naming the vicious cycle that happens. And I know for many of us, the term vicious cycle can get thrown around a lot, and it's like, oh yeah, the vicious cycle. But I specifically see this exact cycle happening. That is the cycle. That is the reason why you can't get out of diet mentality and you can't master this area of your life. So I'm going to point out the different elements of that vicious cycle, and then also how we can actually penetrate that cycle so that you get those permanent lasting results and get out of diet mentality forever and master permanent weight loss. And also look a little bit again at the root causes of this vicious cycle, which I believe I touched on in the last episode a bit. If you didn't hear that, go check it out. There's definitely going to be things that I'm going to reiterate here on this episode today. But I don't think you can hear it too much in case the way I say it today is a little bit different than the last time. Okay, so the vicious cycle. Something happens, all right? But prior to something happening, you wake up every day, or maybe before you go to bed at night, and you say, tomorrow I'm going to be good. Tomorrow I am going to eat my 3 square meals. I'm going to eat the breakfast that I have planned and prepared. I'm not going to snack in between meals. I'm going to drink tons of water. I'm going to do my workout. I'm going to all of the right things, not have any dessert. I'm going to get to bed early, right? You have all of the best intentions. You also know from the past of your maybe having a long period of time where you were able to stay consistent doing that. And you know how good it feels. You know how good it feels to be on track and to eat really well, to be taking exquisite care of your health and your body now. And if you're in that space currently, amazing, right? Like, we know how good it feels. And who I speak to are the ones that no matter what they do, they just can't seem to get back on track the way that they used to be able to in the past anymore. Weight Watchers doesn't work anymore, or Jenny Craig, or your weight loss surgery has failed, or, whatever. So those are the people who often come to me. And that was where I also found myself actually opening myself up to trying hypnosis despite my skepticism, because I was so desperate. I knew that I couldn't do another diet again the way I had done in the past. I also knew that I was a health conscious person and highly valued my health and didn't want to be fat for the rest of my life and was terrified of gaining weight. So I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. And that's when hypnosis showed up in my life. And I really firmly believe that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. If you look back at your life and just at times when you really needed something or you were really ready for something, it comes in. So even just you're listening to this today, I just invite you to really listen for whatever value is here for you today, and trusting that it can be exactly what you need at the exact right time, if we're willing to receive that. I could go on a tangent there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to talk about the vicious cycle. Okay. So you start out with all those good intentions. Then your day starts. A number of things could happen during the day. You oversleep your alarm. You miss your workout because something happened at work that needed your attention. You started out really good with your day. You had your perfect breakfast. You had your perfect lunch. You denied the snacks in the break room. You didn't have too much caffeine, but then by the end of the day, nighttime comes after dinner. Maybe you even had a good dinner, all of a sudden you're heading towards the chip bag or whatever snack of your choice that there is. Maybe the alcohol comes out, the wine, or, whatever your drink of choice could be. And now we're doing it again. You're watching yourself as you're doing it. You are telling yourself every time that you've gotten up, that's the last time, I'm not going to get up again. As you're eating it, you're saying to yourself, why am I doing this? I know I shouldn't be doing this. It's going to make me upset with myself later. And you're doing it anyway. And you feel like a literal crazy person. Okay, so what happens in that mode when you're right there is you start saying all of this not nice stuff to yourself. What's wrong with you? You're a food addict. Why can't you control yourself? You're fat. You're always going to be fat. Life's not fair. I don't know, right? These things, sometimes we're aware of the fact that we're saying it. Sometimes we're not aware. But the point is, it's why, when you are eating and you know that it's making you feel bad, do you continue to eat? Okay, so I'm going to tell you why. It's part of the vicious cycle. So those negative thoughts in your mind create negative feelings in the body. Okay, so for example, guilt, shame, fear of weight gain, embarrassment, shame because you're eating and you said you weren't going to. Guilty because you just ate something that you said you weren't going to. Now you have negative feelings in your body because of those negative thoughts. And then the way that actually we have found over time as human beings to get rid of negative feelings in the body is to numb out by eating more food or drinking more alcohol. And that's the vicious cycle. Okay, because the negativity breeds negativity, and the way to get out of negativity is to eat or drink. So then you eat and drink, and then maybe you go around in that circle for a while. What's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? I shouldn't. Sugar's bad. I know it causes cancer. I know it creates this. I know it does that. It's going to make me tired tomorrow, right? The brain just starts going and going and going. And despite everything you're saying to yourself, it's only getting worse. And you're still getting up and you're still eating more and you're just, right? So then finally you get yourself to a place where, maybe you're so numbed out and feeling whatever you're feeling to be able to go to sleep. Okay. And then you're angry at yourself and you wake up the next day and maybe you feel bloated. Maybe you step on the scale and that makes it worse. Or maybe you step on the scale and for some reason it didn't go up and you're like, oh, maybe I found a way. And then that day either gets worse or that day gets better. And it's just like, we're just constantly in this like ping pong around our emotionality and what we're doing good and bad and right and wrong and yes and no and back and forth, which is so maddening, which is why beginning of the process and stop the madness. And this madness is because of this vicious cycle. Sometimes this vicious cycle can last days, weeks, months, even years. This is why we see that after someone loses a whole bunch of weight, right? You've been whatever, you got yourself to stay so committed to whatever diet path, that you're on and that commitment, which is no small thing. Like it's not for nothing. Like the fact that you're able to stay committed to a food plan like that or a health plan like that is extraordinary. But if it's built on top of you running away from being fat, being isolated or abandoned, or not having the love you want to have in your life, or the career that you want to have, it is a rocky foundation. It is going to fall apart. We are not addressing the root causes and we're not effectively knowing how to make those vicious cycles last less and less amounts of time. Hey, just in case you missed it, the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss book is hot and ready for you on Kindle. That's right. We've outlined our entire program in one simple read. If you haven't done so already, go over to hpwl.info/ebook and download your copy now. You'll get the exact tools we teach in our Fast Track to Freedom program, plus a full set of food freedom resources you can start exploring today. Again, all you need to do is go to hpwl.info/ebook. Now back to a regular podcast. So again, some people, they can get a few days together and then maybe they have a few off days and then they have a few good days and a few off days and they're still frustrated. But some people, it's like, I just lost all this weight in the past and now I've gained it all back and some. And that process of gaining the weight back is so painful because you just got so many compliments for so long of people saying, oh my God, this is amazing. How are you doing it? You're such an inspiration. You're so proud of yourself. And then now everyone around you is noticing your weight is up, right? And they're like, oh, wow, that woman, is a train wreck or whatever they might be thinking, which is just really terrible for you because it's painful and you don't have a way to control it. And you think you're an addict and something's wrong with you. And again, negativity breeds the negativity until one day you get something in your email inbox that's like, hey, here's the next new fad diet. And you're like, oh my God, everybody's eating this gummy that was on Shark Tank and they're losing, all this fat fast, or Optavia, or all the different possibilities that are out there. Like I always say to my clients, any of that stuff will work. Any of it will work. Anything that you stick to or that you put into your body, it's going to work until it doesn't anymore, right? And we can all look back at our path and say, yeah, it worked while it worked. And then eventually my body got immune to it, or for whatever reason, I wasn't able to stick to it anymore. And I'm committed that if you feel done with that cycle, then be done with it. And there is a way out of that. And we're going to talk more about the root causes. So how do we get out of that vicious cycle of negativity breeding negativity that causes us to want to numb out on food? And then you numb out on food and then you're mad at yourself for numbing out on food. And now since you're mad at yourself for numbing out on food, then you need to eat more food or drink more alcohol or numb out yourself in a different way so that you can feel better. And then you're angry at yourself for that. And then over and over. And this is day after day after day after day. It's insane. I want to let you know you're not alone. You're not alone. And there's nothing wrong with you. We are not taught as human beings for how to get past this and the reality of what's happening in the background. Okay. So one of the things that I just want to look at, and I was just speaking with a potential client yesterday, and she got cancer at one point and had never, kept choosing not good relationships. And I asked her, and she had other health aspects. We'll talk about the health aspects first. I said, is there any part of you that resonates with that if your emotional world is not healthy, that your body ends up becoming a physical manifestation of the lack of being able to feel your feelings? And for her, she immediately, yes, definitely. I know 100% that if I'm not able to really process my feelings and feel them in a bigger way, that wreaks havoc on my health. So often in our society, we place nutrition and our weight on a pedestal as this equals health. If my nutrition is perfect and my weight is in a normal, healthy BMI range, like I've been told my whole life, that means that I'm staying safe from cancer, death, diabetes, right? Everything like that. And what I'm here to say is that if you are someone who has been dieting your entire life, yo-yoing, been up and down forever, that actually is, you're actually making the probability of those diseases coming into your body that much higher. Your emotional world and how you handle and deal with emotions directly impacts your overall health. We cannot take that out of the equation. There are so many examples that I've heard of people who are the healthiest people. They followed everything to a T. Okay, all the things, and they still ended up with cancer, or they still ended up dying young, or they still ended up, fill in the blank. And people are like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to that person. They were the healthiest people in the world. I had grandparents that are no longer with us. They had a cocktail every night. My grandmother, I remember going into her kitchen, she had nothing but sugary baked goods and carbs and alcohol in her fridge, for probably the last decade of her life. She lived till she was 94. And that was not something. She never had cancer. She never had any. What she did have was she was super social. There is so much evidence that how social we are and how connected we are to other people translates into our long-term health. Oftentimes, like I say on this podcast all the time, the opposite of addiction is connection. Okay, so if you feel like you're a food addict and your brain is occupied by food, body, and weight 24/7, consider the fact that you are also isolating yourself. Maybe you're around people all the time, but you feel alone in the room, or you feel constantly a little bit anxious or not fully connected with people. This is really affecting your health. And maybe the reason you're doing it is because you're trying so hard to make sure you don't gain any weight because you don't want to die young, and you have these unconscious fears in the background because you saw your dad, almost die, and you saw this happen and this terrible thing happen, and you saw that they were overweight, and you saw, okay, whatever we see in our life equals how our brain continues to compute everything and see everything. So for those of us who have been weight obsessed our entire lives, we need to know that the answer for us is not to focus on nutrition and being perfect with your diet. The answer is to actually get more in touch with your feelings and learn how to move through and feel past your really hard and challenging emotions. I just heard a coach that I follow today talk about when people have the fear of missing out. He was like, we really need to create a movement where people have a fear of missing in. A fear of missing in, meaning what is going on internally? What am I actually feeling? What am I noticing? Okay. And so the way to stop that vicious cycle that we talked about The way to penetrate and interrupt that cycle is to actually look within and understand what I am feeling, what I am thinking, and how to change my thinking around and how to change my feelings around. So often, there's this movement in my conversation I had with Allison a couple episodes ago or last episode. We were talking about how, it's such an amazing tool to have, that as soon as you start going down a negative track, you just immediately focus on the positive. And the answer to that is yes, amazing. But like we talked about in that episode, if you are not acknowledging and actually allowing yourself to feel the hard and painful feelings, that override to just let's think about the positive actually masks, it's not actually authentic. Right? Like there's sometimes it's like, okay, let me just switch the thought and like get into that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like when it feels like you have to do it 24/7. It's a really hard day and like your energy is really low and you're trying to slog through. It's like we got to feel the feelings. You got to acknowledge the pain. And so all my clients, especially my leaders, right? It's like, Leslie, I don't have time to feel my feelings. I can't waste any time. Like I have to hold all this stuff up. I get that. And consider the fact that you are not holding anything up and you are actually decreasing the amount of time that you'll be able to serve people efficiently and to the best of your ability if you don't make time to look at your thoughts and to feel your feelings on a regular basis. You're only hurting yourself and everyone else by not doing that. And I'm not talking about feeling your feelings to a point where you're going to fall into a deep depression, right? And you are going to not be able to show up. You're not going to be able to go to work. A lot of my clients in the past, they've had depression in the past, or they saw someone in their life that the person I was talking to the other day, her mother was bipolar, right? And so there's this unconscious fear of like, well, I can't feel my feelings because then I actually might go insane like my mother. Okay, but actually the opposite is true. I remember in the past, I used to also have a fear. I think that I took it on from my mom that I would one day like have an emotional break and go insane. I used to actually be like, oh my God, what if I go to an insane asylum, blah, blah, blah. I was reflecting on that this morning and I was like, I don't have that fear anymore at all. But the reason I don't have that fear anymore at all is because I have built a relationship up with my emotions and I'm not scared to feel them. I'm not scared to have those dark thoughts come in. I know that that's just what the brain and the body does. And it's my job just to like allow them to move through and feel them. And the funny thing is like the faster you feel the hard emotions, the faster that you become aware of what negative thoughts you're thinking and actually like look at them, the sooner that you authentically feel joy, that you authentically have more energy, that you authentically are able to stay consistent. So in order to stay consistent with your eating, consider the fact that all you have to do is stay consistent with being with your emotional world. I'm going to say that again. The way to stay consistent with your eating is not to manage and control and plan and be good, but it's actually to have a consistent practice with and have a relationship with your emotions and feeling your feelings and your thoughts. 95% of the results that you get in life is based on what's going on in the unconscious mind. So those hidden thoughts that are happening. And so we as human beings, we avoid pain and we don't want to look at negative thoughts. There's no place for them in society. Like, it's like, no, dark thoughts. I can't bring that to work. I'll get fired. I can't bring that in my relationship. They'll leave me. I can't bring that to my children because they'll, get bad examples and not fare well because of me. And to an extent, you're right. And you're killing yourself, literally, if you do not address it like within yourself. If you do not find a safe place to unpack this stuff and feel it, you'll be a better mom, a better leader, a better, significant other, a better friend, better human being, happier, healthier, consistent, not perfect, not immune to feeling feelings, but not scared anymore. And your habits consistently after that point get better and better and better. Now, Why? Okay. Like root cause. Like, how come leaders deal with this more so than someone who's, whatever, not a leader? So, in my experience, the way that we become leaders is something significantly challenging happens to you in the past. For some people, it's sex abuse. I've been um, doing some more initiatives with working with Operation Underground Railroad and with Kyle Cease and with Juliet Tangen, who I interviewed very early on in the beginning of this podcast, if you want to look for her, just all around sex trafficking. And I know from being in conversations with people many that have experienced sex abuse, I can't remember the exact statistics, so don't quote me on this, but it's like 1 in 4, 1 in 6 people has been abused sexually in their past. Sex trafficking is obviously like a different level sometimes. But either way, it causes you to have to, at a very young age, like shut down your emotions, be strong, and have to survive. So you'll become super successful in your life because of that drive, but it's the drive running away from your unconscious fears of suffering, death, dying, pain. Okay. So sex abuse could be one of them. The woman I was talking to the other day, 4 years old, brought to a doctor's appointment, put you on a scale. Doctor says you're overweight. Mom brings you to a nutritionist. You now have the mindset of like, I'll never be good enough. I'll never be accepted, right? I can't be loved the way that I am. I'll never make mom happy, right? And so then we get a lack of self-worth within ourselves as well. You're always seeing yourself as having to strive for more. Again, this makes you so successful as a leader or as a business owner or as a CEO or as whatever, professional work that you do. Makes you very driven and make it. But like I always say, there's 2 types of success. There's the type of success where you'll make it, right? But then you'll crash and burn because you've been using food and alcohol and any other numbing agent to get yourself there. A second type of success is you learn how to do this process. You learn how to be with yourself simultaneously and show up both for you first and then for the people that you're serving. And everybody wins. And you get to serve, like I said, for a longer period of time and much more authentically and making sure you're living in alignment with your truth. The other place where I see this affects leaders all the time is in relationships. You choose unavailable men, you choose narcissistic men, what else? Just choose men that maybe you're taking care of. They're more in the feminine seat because you're so used to driving the ship that even if they started out masculine and things started out really great, you have trained the man to be in the feminine seat because you're in the driver's seat all the time. Then you end up resenting them because you're exhausted, because you are constantly running the ship all the time, which then causes you to eat more food, which then causes you to just keep gaining weight and getting more and more miserable. And then your marriage ends and then are you tired yet? And so my question to you is like, how much longer are you willing to deal with this? It's costed you your health. It's costed you your relationships. It's costed you your happiness. Maybe you never got to have kids in your life because you never looked at this yet, right? It's costed you, maybe however much your body had to endure with any surgeries or any, injuries that you got as a result of this. How much longer are you willing to do this? I just want to leave space for that. And I think I really just want to end it there. I love you so much. And we'll see you on the next episode. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.